In an age defined by swords and faith, one king defied the odds, not with perfect health or a powerful army, but with unmatched courage and determination. This is not the tale of a typical medieval ruler. It is the extraordinary story of Baldwin IV, the Leper King of Jerusalem, who despite a devastating illness, stood firm in defense of the Holy Land during one of the most tumultuous times in history, the Crusades. The Crusading era was one of the most significant and transformative periods in medieval history. It shaped religious, political, and cultural landscapes across Europe and the Middle East, and brought forth legends that still echo through the centuries. Among the knights and kings of this era, one figure stands out, not because of conquest or cruelty, but because of his unyielding resilience in the face of suffering. King Baldwin IV of Jerusalem, often referred to as Baldwin the Leper, was a monarch unlike any other. His reign, though brief, was marked by extraordinary resolve, a sharp intellect, and an indomitable will to lead, even as leprosy slowly ravaged his body. Early life and the onset of illness. Baldwin was born in 1161 in the Kingdom of Jerusalem, the son of Prince Amalric and the younger brother of King Baldwin III. He grew up in a royal court built on the fragile balance of Christian and Muslim power in the region. From a young age, Baldwin was placed under the tutelage of William of Tyre, a prominent historian and future archbishop, who would later chronicle the boy's life in great detail. William quickly noticed something strange about his pupil. Unlike other children, Baldwin didn't react to pain. He didn't flinch when pinched or bruised. It was soon discovered that Baldwin felt no pain in his right arm. This alarming discovery led to consultations with Muslim physicians, renowned for their medical knowledge at the time. Although there were no outward signs, the diagnosis loomed. Leprosy, a disease feared for its disfiguring effects and its social stigma. Because of his royal status, the diagnosis was kept secret. If it had been confirmed publicly, Baldwin might have been forced into the Order of St. Lazarus, a military order of knights who were themselves afflicted with leprosy or similar diseases. For now, his physical symptoms were mild, and he remained fully active. Despite his condition, Baldwin grew into a bright and determined young man. He was said to resemble his father in both appearance and bearing. Although he occasionally stuttered, his mind was sharp, and his memory excellent, qualities that served him well both in court and in battle. A kingdom in crisis and a boy king's rise to power. In 1174, Baldwin's life changed forever. His father, Amalric, died suddenly of dysentery after returning from a military campaign. Baldwin was only 13 years old. Despite his age and illness, the High Court of Jerusalem recognized him as the rightful heir. He was crowned King Baldwin IV. Because of his youth, a regency was established under Raymond of Tripoli, one of the most powerful noblemen in the kingdom. 2 years later, at the age of 15, Baldwin came of age and took control of the government. Most expected his reign to be short. Leprosy was a slow but certain death sentence. There were no heirs, and questions of succession loomed over every decision he made. But Baldwin would surprise everyone. He was not content to rule from a throne. Baldwin planned military campaigns himself and refused to shy away from battle, even as his disease progressed. When the famous Muslim leader Saladin was occupied with a campaign in Aleppo, Baldwin seized the opportunity to launch a bold offensive near Damascus. This marked his first taste of war, and it would not be his last. The warrior king and his greatest victory. In November of 1177, Baldwin faced his greatest test. Saladin, one of the most formidable military minds of the age, led a massive army out of Egypt to attack the strategically vital city of Ascalon. Baldwin, only 16 at the time and already losing the use of his limbs, assembled a vastly outnumbered Frankish force and rode out to intercept him. Baldwin's army was dwarfed in size. Saladin believed the young king would never risk open battle, so he spread his forces thin to plunder the surrounding countryside. It was a fatal miscalculation. With the help of the Knights Templar, Baldwin launched a surprise attack near Montcassard. Against all odds, his forces crushed Saladin's army. Nearly 90% of Saladin's troops were lost, and the Sultan himself narrowly escaped back to Egypt. The victory was monumental. For the people of Jerusalem, it was a sign that divine favor still rested on their kingdom. For Baldwin, it was a personal triumph that immortalized him in the annals of Crusader history. But the cost was steep. The rigors of campaign life, dust, exposure, and poor hygiene caused his leprosy to accelerate rapidly. Over the next few years, Baldwin's condition worsened. His fingers curled, his limbs became stiff and useless, and his face began to show the ravages of the disease. Eventually, he went blind and had to be carried on a litter suspended between two horses. Yet even then, his mind remained sharp and his resolve unshaken. The end of a remarkable reign. Baldwin ruled Jerusalem for nearly 11 years. As his body failed him, he made careful plans for the future of his kingdom. He arranged the marriage of his sister Sibylla to Guy of Lusignan, a French noble, to ensure a strong military alliance. When he feared death was near in 1183, he named Guy as regent. But Baldwin soon became disillusioned with Guy's leadership. To secure the succession, Baldwin had his young nephew, Sibylla's son, crowned as co-king, Baldwin V. Even on what would be his deathbed, Baldwin continued to make strategic decisions to protect his people and kingdom. On March 16, 1185, at only 23 years old, Baldwin IV passed away. He was buried in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, beside his father. Despite the pain and stigma he endured, Baldwin left behind a legacy of courage, wisdom, and resilience. Legacy of a Leper King. Baldwin IV should not be remembered solely as a victim of disease. He was a leader who stared death in the face every day, and chose to live, fight, and lead anyway. He ruled a kingdom surrounded by enemies, yet managed to hold it together through sheer willpower, strategic brilliance, and a deep sense of duty. His greatest victory wasn't just at Montgassard. It was the way he lived, with dignity and purpose, while his own body betrayed him. In a world where kings were expected to be symbols of strength and perfection, Baldwin proved that true leadership comes from character, not appearance. In the grand narrative of the Crusades, Baldwin IV stands out not because he conquered vast lands or built grand monuments, but because he endured. He endured more than most could imagine, and still carried the weight of a crown with grace. The story of the Leper King reminds us that sometimes, the greatest heroes are not those who are strongest in body, but those who possess the strongest spirit. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want to learn more about unsung figures from history who shaped the world against all odds, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Who would you like us to cover next?